What's going on? Why'd you run away?
I don't want to be there.
Why not?
She's scared.
Like
She's talking about being beat up. She's talking about having scissors to her throat. Talking about pulling you off of her and you telling her you would have killed her.
That's when we had an altercation.
Right.
We had an altercation.
With scissors? How are they hurting you? Eating too much?
No.
At exactly 2 p.m. at Piedmont, Oklahoma, the police found a runaway child who revealed some very disturbing and alarming information.
Don't run or I'll chase you and put you in handcuffs. I know you don't. Let's go talk about it. But until you're in my car, we're not talking. Stand up. Stand up! Yes. Are you going to listen?
Yes.
I don't want to yell at you. I want to be nice to you, but I'm not going to chase you. Like, I'll tackle you before you have time to run. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to do all that. I want to help you and figure out why you ran away and all that, but...
Can we talk about it at the police station?
We can talk about it in my car first.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you need it? Is this any of your stuff? Okay. Let's go to my car. I have located her.
We are located now. I will call and cancel.
Clear. I'm just going to go around this building. What's going on? Why'd you run away?
I don't want to be there.
Why not?
She's scared.
She's scary? Who?
The one who takes care of us.
What's her name?
Tina.
Is that your mom? Yeah. What's scary about her?
I'm scared to get in trouble because she goes to the extreme. She goes very far when she gets into trouble.
Like what? What happens when you get in trouble?
Sometimes she locks us in a closet.
Locked you in a closet? For how long?
The longest I've been in here has been like 4 days.
4 days? When did that happen? Most recently?
It was last year. It was around Easter.
And what did you get in trouble for that made that happen?
I was sneaking my sister's food.
You were making them food?
I was sneaking my sister's food that she gets from school.
Why'd you get in trouble for that?
Because I'm not supposed to.
Make food?
No, my sister, my little sister, she was bringing like snacks from school.
Yeah.
And I was having her keep it in the bedroom so I could have some. And so when she figured it out, she tased me and locked me in a closet for 4 days.
She tased you?
Have you ever felt trapped in a place that was supposed to protect you, only to realize every door and window became a barrier to your freedom? Perhaps you've stayed silent when something felt off, questioning whether speaking up could cost you everything you held dear to your heart and soul. Police waste no time investigating the child claims by questioning the foster mom identified as 45 years old Tina Ramirez. Let's hear what she has to say.
Have you ever locked your kids in the closet?
No.
Okay. Why would they tell me they've been locked in the closet?
All of my kids said that.
More than one.
No. I've never locked any of my kids in the closet.
Okay.
In Piedmont, Oklahoma, a normal-looking house hid a terrible secret. The foster parents sworn to care for children became their tormentors instead. The Ramirez and Ibeziako home earned the grim nickname House of Horrors after harrowing evidence of relentless abuse and cruelty emerged from within its walls. What drove a terrified child to risk everything to flee her own foster home under cover of darkness, barefoot and bleeding? What depths of despair could push someone so young to abandon any hope of safety to find refuge elsewhere, knowing each step away might be her only chance at survival? Before we dive into every shocking detail, I want to personally appreciate you for coming to watch this video. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll be first to uncover the untold stories of justice and survival. Hit like if you believe every child deserves a safe home, and let's begin. Tina Marie Ramirez, 43, had been a certified foster parent for nearly a decade through the Oklahoma Department of Human Services. After her own daughter was tragically murdered, she formally adopted her late child's 5 offspring, her nieces and nephews, hoping to keep the family together. Tina completed every required training and welcomed regular home visits, earning praise for her commitment. But beneath her credentials lay the weight of grief and the immense challenge of parenting 5 children already marked by loss. Community members knew her as a devoted caregiver. No one imagined the growing strain that would soon erupt into a full-scale investigation. Anthony Chukwemeka Ibeziako Jr., 26, hailed from Norman, Oklahoma, one of 4 children raised by a single mother. Outwardly reserved and polite, he rarely called attention to himself. After marrying Tina, Anthony became the household's handyman, driving kids to school, fixing broken fixtures, and helping with chores. Neighbors saw only a helpful young man mowing the lawn or unloading groceries. In interviews, he insisted he never suspected harm, but prosecutors later produced evidence suggesting he witnessed injuries and chose silence. His image as an unwitting assistant would be central to charges accusing him of enabling the abuse.
And it's not good, Anthony. Okay? So, man, I really don't know what to tell you other than you should have done something, I think.
That's the thing. I'm thinking to myself, like, what should I have done? What should I have done? Because at the same time, I did make sure. I told her, I was like, hey, like, I asked her.
You knew what you were getting yourself into, man. I mean, like, you should have taken him to the doctor. You should have taken him to somebody, a professional.
They're adopted. I'm not on their paper as like that.
I know that, but you got to know the family before you even got married.
Right.
You got to know the family and made sure that was something you wanted to be a part of.
Right.
So when you marry a woman with kids, those are your kids, your stepdad.
She always takes them to the hospital before the start of school.
That's for the babies, man, not the big ones. The big ones need to go to the doctor.
The Stout Drive Northwest has manicured lawns, tree-lined sidewalks, and quiet mornings. Ramirez's driveway displayed to gleaming sports car status symbols against modest family homes. Passers-by admired the neat landscaping and polite waves, never guessing the turmoil hidden just beyond the front door. Inside, muffled sobs and whispered pleas echoed through locked rooms. Unseen by any visitor, children endured daily punishments, empty plates, belt welts, and forced isolation. What appeared as ordinary family life concealed desperation, so deep that the only escape they saw lay in running into the night. There were 5 siblings in the Ramirez and Ibeziako home. The oldest, a 15-year-old girl who'd lost both parents to a car accident, struggled with nightmares and clung to her younger sister. The 14-year-old, removed from a neglectful household, bore the weight of responsibility for her siblings. At 9, her brother had been in and out of shelters after his mother's overdose. Their 8-year-old sister suffered early trauma after witnessing domestic violence. The youngest, a 6-year-old boy, arrived with developmental delays and a history of hospital stays. Each child carried a past marked by loss, hoping this placement would finally bring stability. From the moment officers entered, the children's frail bodies told a story of enduring hunger. One sibling measured no taller than a typical first grader, weighing barely 60 pounds. Their limbs were thin, ribs visible beneath stretched skin. Cracked, chapped lips bled from lack of essential nutrients, and skin hung loosely around their joints. Underweight faces framed hollow, haunted eyes that darted at every footstep. Nurses noted significant vitamin deficiencies. Hair was brittle and dull, falling in handfuls when brushed. A simple handshake elicited a wince, as if their bones ached beneath their skin. Their cheeks lacked any rosy glow. Each child had the pale, ghostly hue of someone starved for weeks. Yet starvation was only the beginning. Children described how empty plates were swapped for harsh reprimands. Belts snapped against skin in a relentless rhythm, leaving welts that formed swollen, angry lines. At times, a taser's prongs delivered jolts to exposed midsections, sending waves of searing pain.
Yep. Several of your kids confirmed that you have tased one of these kids with that taser.
No, as I was telling her earlier, we do that, right?
Yeah.
And we even do it with the dogs. So physically, no, I'm not.
Like, how close did he put it to the kids?
One time I got real close on accident because we were playing around. But as far as, no.
Okay, then the bzz game, like, how close are you?
Oh, not that close.
I know, but you're not telling me a distance,
Oh.
like...
For up to 4 days, one child recalled being locked in a small closet barely large enough to stand, no light, no mattress, just the stench of unwashed concrete. Thirst was as constant as fear. Water was doled out in teaspoon-sized sips. Every sunrise brought the question, what punishment awaited today? In a desperate bid for calories, the 14-year-old hid crackers and fruit from her school bag under her bed. Each crumb felt like hope, proof that someone cared. When Tina discovered the cache, the punishment was swift and brutal. The teenager was dragged into the hallway, stripped to her undergarments, and stunned with a taser against her abdomen. Anthony watched as she collapsed, convulsing, before being locked inside a dark closet. Days later, paramedics treated her for burns and dehydration. The hidden lunch had cost her more than she ever imagined. If this enrages you, smash that like button to let these kids know the world is watching, and tell us where you are watching from. Your support sends a message. No child should endure this alone. Together, we amplify their voices and demand accountability, one click at a time. On that Friday afternoon, Tina Ramirez called Piedmont police to report her 14-year-old foster daughter missing. She claimed the girl had gone out for a walk and never returned. Officers noted the odd timing: no shoe prints, no dropped belongings, yet logged the report as a routine runaway. Meanwhile, DHS caseworkers were alerted, triggering a coordinated search. Unbeknownst to them, inside the Ramirez home, other children waited in silent dread, knowing that any sign of escape could bring harsher punishment. As daylight faded, urgency grew. This was no ordinary teenagers wandering, it felt like something far more urgent. Late that evening, the teenager waited until the household fell silent. Her heart pounded as she eased from her bunk, careful not to brush the rusted frame. She slipped on a single sneaker, leaving the other hidden under her mattress. At the top of the stairs, she pressed her ear to the door, listening for footsteps. One soft click, and she was free. Down the hallway, she crept, every floorboard groan a thunderclap in her ears. She slid the front door open and paused. Feeling cool air against her cheek, a promise of escape she dared to claim. Once notified, officers fanned out across the neighborhood. Neighbors described flashlights cutting through dark yards. One patrol car cut engine noise as its beam scanned fences. Behind a nearby building, an officer spotted movement under a stained blanket. Approaching quietly, he called out gently, "It's okay, you're safe now." The girl trembled, barely lifting her head. She had curled into a ball, using the tattered cloth as a shield. Paramedics arrived minutes later to assess dehydration and minor bruises. Though cold and shaken, she was alive and determined not to return to that house. As the officer knelt beside her, she looked up with hollow eyes and rasped, "Please, don't send me back." Her voice was a fragile whisper, carrying years of fear. He radioed for an immediate welfare check on her siblings and insisted she remain under his protection. Through tears, she described locked rooms and painful beatings, each detail confirming why she fled. The words echoed in the silent alley, a survivor's plea that ignited action. This moment marked the turning point from victimhood toward rescue and set in motion the chain of events that would expose the horrors inside that home.
Are you feeding those kids enough?
Enough? Okay, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What would be enough? Is 3 times a day enough?
Okay,
2 to 3 times a day?
So,
because sometimes, like I said, in the morning, the girls will just have a glass of milk. Okay? But they have lunch and they have dinner. They never skip.
Within minutes of the 45-minute call, officers arrived at 123 Stout Drive Northwest. An affidavit describes the entry, doors unlocked, but hallway dark. In the main living room, they encountered furniture overturned, scattered items, and a pervasive stench of neglect. The children's skeletal frames were impossible to ignore, protruding ribs and sunken cheeks. The youngest lay coiled by a wall, silent tears on his face. Officers moved carefully, stunned by the scene. One patrolman later wrote, "I have never seen so much neglect in a home that passed all inspections." Shock drove them to radio for medical aid immediately. As paramedics arrived, Pafford M's team quickly assessed the teenager under the blanket. They noted severe dehydration, hypothermia, and multiple bruises that ran the length of her limbs. Wrapping her in warm blankets and administering for fluids, they stabilized her vital signs. Continuing through the house, they discovered the other 4 siblings in varying states of medical need, one with infected belt wounds, another suffering from a high fever due to prolonged confinement. Each child received first aid, antibiotics, and immediate transport to the Canadian County Health Center. Their faces reflected relief as they found compassionate hands ready to help. Within hours of the medical team's arrival, Oklahoma Department of Human Services agents secured emergency custody of all 5 children. In protective gear labeled DHS, caseworkers entered the home, documenting every injury and living condition. They placed the siblings into separate vehicles equipped with child seats, ensuring each had a familiar blanket and favorite toy. Legal paperwork was signed at the scene, granting immediate guardianship to their grandmother, Shelley Yates. Agents transported the group to a temporary safe house, where medical and psychological evaluations continued. This swift intervention prevented any further harm and marked the break from their abusers' control. Around the same time, DHS agents discovered the remaining children huddled in a small bedroom. Their arms wrapped around one another, they stared blankly at the agents' badges. The 15-year-old girl clutched her younger brother's hand, a small rock still damp beneath her chin. When told help had arrived, they blinked uncertainly, voices croaked with questions. Caseworkers gently explained they were safe now, offering warm clothing and water. One agent produced crayons and paper. The children hesitated before small smiles flickered gently as they accepted the simple gift. In that moment, a fragile sense of security began to replace years of fear. Court documents revealed Tina Ramirez admitted to inflicting emotional suffering, describing her actions as strict guidance and mental correction, yet denied ever striking her foster children. Investigators countered her statements with forensic evidence. Clustered belt welts around arms and legs, red welts outlining a strap's width, and distinct prong pattern burns matching a taser. Medical photos detailed fresh bruising near the abdomen and healed scars on shoulders. Despite this, Tina maintained she only used necessary discipline to manage 5 traumatized youngsters.
Like they're expressing their feelings on paper because they've got no one to talk to because they don't go to school and they don't go to counseling and they don't go to the doctor and all they do is sit around here and get starved. And what am I supposed to tell anybody that asks me why you shouldn't go to prison? What do I tell somebody, Tina? Because I just didn't feel like taking them to the doctor?
No.
You've got $60,000, $80,000 cars in the garage, but you can't afford enough food, so you lock it up.
Her denial of physical harm stood in stark contrast to the injuries authenticated by medical professionals and documented in official filings. Anthony Ibeziako Jr. faced multiple charges, for enabling neglect and failing to protect vulnerable children. Prosecutors alleged he witnessed physical assaults yet did nothing to halt the violence. Court filings charge him with 1 count of child abuse and 2 counts of neglect, asserting he provided permission or willfully ignored signs of severe harm.
I don't think that the defense of "you just didn't know" is going to fly for this, truthfully.
I don't know what else to say. It's
So-
like I can't like lie. I can't lie.
No, I don't want you to lie. That's the last thing I want you to do.
Right. It's like what do I say? What do I do?
I wish that there was something that you could tell me that you did to protect the kids. That's what I wish you could tell me. Is there anything you did to protect them?
Statements from caseworkers and forensic experts indicate Anthony observed belt wound patterns and heard cries of pain. Still, he continued daily routines without intervention. His defense claimed ignorance of the full extent of injuries, but his presence during documented abuse incidents undermined any assertion of innocence. Perhaps most disturbing, both Tina and Anthony attributed the children's suffering to their past traumas. In recorded interviews, Tina insisted the siblings carried emotional baggage from previous homes, framing her harsh methods as attempts to correct problematic behavior. Anthony echoed similar claims, describing the children's reactions as overreactions rooted in instability. Prosecutors argue this deflection downplayed genuine injuries, shifting responsibility onto the victims. This narrative allowed the couple to justify escalating punishments as therapeutic, rather than abusive. By vilifying the children's history, they obscured accountability and reinforced the misconception that discipline could erase deep psychological scars inflicted long before these events. Tell us in the comment section, what would you have done to help these kids? Every suggestion matters. Your voice can inspire others to speak up and demand protection for vulnerable children. Let's turn outrage into action. Drop your thoughts below and stand with survivors of abuse and neglect right now. On March 19, 2024, Piedmont officers escorted Tina Ramirez and Anthony Ibeziako Jr. into custody.
You know, if they're skinny because there's something wrong with them, they need to go to the doctor. If they're skinny because you're not feeding them, you need to go to prison. You and Anthony are coming with me. We're going to jail today.
We're going to jail.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'm just being straight with you. I don't want to argue and fight and all that, but that's what's going on this morning.
Okay.
So just get some shoes on, what you need to do, and then we're going to head out.
Okay, I'll get dressed.
Okay. I'm not going to stay out here, though. I'm going to come in just so I make sure you don't.
That's okay.
Okay.
Tina faced 7 felony counts, 4 counts of child abuse, 2 counts of neglect, and 1 count of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon for using a taser. Her bail was set at $125,000, reflecting the severity of the charges and the number of victims. Anthony was charged with 1 count of child abuse and 2 counts of enabling neglect, accused of standing by as harm was inflicted. The bond court deemed his risk lower, setting bail at $50,000. Both defendants were remanded to the Canadian County Jail after failing to meet bail conditions immediately, marking the first legal checkpoint in a case that had gripped the community's attention. In early April, preliminary hearings unfolded before a Canadian county judge. Prosecutors presented sworn affidavits from the responding officers, detailing the children's physical state and home conditions. DHS caseworkers testified on their unannounced visits and the timeline leading to the emergency removal. Medical experts described belt welts measuring up to 6 inches and taser burns with characteristic prong patterns, corroborated by photographs and hospital records. Counsel for the defense questioned the credibility of traumatic memory and suggested procedural errors in evidence collection, but the judge allowed all exhibits. Testimony revealed that the children, some as young as 6, had provided consistent accounts under oath. By the hearing's close, probable cause was established, ensuring both Tina and Anthony would stand trial on the full slate of charges. As of this writing, Both defendants remain in custody pending trial dates later in 2025. Meanwhile, their biological grandmother, Shelley Yates, has petitioned the court for permanent guardianship of the 5 siblings. Yates, who lost her daughter in 2020 and overcame personal struggles, has garnered community support. She attends every court appearance and works closely with DHS to coordinate therapy and schooling for the children. Judges have granted her temporary custody, and a full guardianship hearing is scheduled next month. Should the court approve, Yates will provide the stable home these siblings have long awaited. Following their removal, the 5 siblings entered a specialized trauma-informed foster program designed for children who've experienced severe neglect. Medical staff tracked their progress closely. Gradual, steady weight gain replaced the emaciation that once defined them. Nutritionists crafted meal plans rich in proteins and vitamins, and caregivers ensured regular, comforting meals rather than the limited rations they endured before. Each night, the siblings attended therapy sessions led by licensed counselors trained in childhood trauma. These sessions offered a safe space to share memories, express fears, and learn coping strategies, drawing pictures of happier times or writing letters they never intended to send. Over weeks, laughter began to return, a shared joke during art therapy, a hug offered without fear. Though healing would be a long journey, these incremental victories marked the first steps toward recovery. Shelley Yates, determined to honor her daughter's memory, she rebuilt her life and home, securing stable employment and completing parenting classes. When DHS approached her about guardianship, she saw an opportunity to protect her grandchildren and prevent further losses. Since then, Yates has been a constant presence, organizing medical appointments, attending therapy sessions alongside the children, and advocating fiercely in court for their best interests. The Oklahoma Department of Human Services continues active involvement in the siblings' lives. Caseworkers coordinate weekly educational tutoring to address gaps caused by their disrupted schooling, helping them catch up in reading and math. Licensed therapists hold regular counseling sessions, both individual and group, to process trauma and build resilience. Monthly milestone reports update courts on their physical, emotional, and academic progress, highlighting achievements like improved grades and reduced anxiety. DHS also facilitates family bonding activities, picnics, movie nights, and supervised visits with Yates to strengthen their sense of security. This comprehensive support network aims to ensure the children not only survive, but thrive in their new environment. Neighbors were furious. They'd seen the Ramirez driveway filled with flashy sports cars, vehicles worth 6 figures, yet had no idea children inside were wasting away. The contrast between material wealth and child neglect struck a nerve. Online forums lit up with anger, questioning how such abuse went unnoticed for so long. In response, Oklahoma lawmakers proposed emergency legislation to tighten foster care oversight. Measures included unannounced home visits, improved trauma recognition, training for caregivers, and mandatory follow-ups after any child welfare complaint. Advocates urged the state to shift focus from simply placing children to ensuring they're emotionally and physically safe where they're placed. Piedmont Police Chief Shane Clark addressed the media bluntly. If you see signs, shy kids, visible bruises, unusual fear, say something. Report it. These children didn't have a voice. You do. The department launched a public awareness campaign, encouraging community vigilance and anonymous reporting of suspected child abuse. The runaway teenager's bravery ignited a journey from captivity to care, and her siblings' strength shone through darkest days. Their resilience reminds us that even shattered lives can begin healing when compassion finds them. Together, they prove triumphant survival is possible, when help arrives and voices refuse to stay silent. Even in our darkest hour, hope can break through, shining like beacon that guides the lost back to safety, reminding us we are never alone. If you believe every child deserves safety and love, subscribe and share this video. Let's make sure no one looks away, and speak up for children.